Yes.
Good evening. I'm calling this meeting to order for the city of Uhland, Wednesday, July 29, 2026 at 6 p.m. Can we have roll, please?
Mayor Garza,
Here.
Alex Saldivar,
Here.
Mark Gronzik, here. Soraya Pineda,
Here.
Mary Lapointe is absent, and Matthew Esposito is also absent. But we do have a quorum.
We have quorum. Okay, please stand for the pledge and the Texas pledge. I pledge allegiance to thee,
flag of the
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, and one and indivisible. You may be seated. Okay, do we have any announcements? Okay, any public comments?
Matthew, did you want to talk about anything yet? And then we do have some for some agenda items. Did you want to talk before or just for the agenda items? Perfect. We'll have agenda item public comment.
Do what?
Items for the public comment for agenda items, but nothing non-agendized.
Okay. Okay, so we don't have any consent agenda items. Right now, we're going to go into executive session. The city council for the city of Uhland will adjourn into executive session to discuss any of the matters listed below as authorized by the Texas Government Code Section 551.071, litigation consultation with legal counsel at 6:07 PM. Okay, we're back to our session at 6:37 PM. The first item on the agenda is 8.1, discussion and possible action to acknowledge the resignation of City Administrator Hayden Brodowski and provide direction regarding the city's administrative leadership's transition. Councilmember Mark Ronson.
Yeah, Mayor, before we begin this discussion, I think it would be appropriate to seek guidance from our city attorney on the legal implications of this item so that we're all kind of working from the same understanding. As I kind of researched some of this, I didn't find any kind of statute that required a city to wait until the employee's final or last day to formally acknowledge or accept that resignation. I do also understand that historically, we have waited until the 11th hour and sometimes past that to accept these resignations. So I just want some clarification of whether it is a legal requirement or it's simply just the way that we've done it as a city. If there isn't any legal obstacle, I think that it would be helpful for council to discuss whether to acknowledge Mr. Brodowski's resignation today would provide some more clarity on the transition that's coming up. So my thought is that if we intend to interview candidates, if we make a selection, provide a meaningful and try to provide a meaningful overlap before August the 5th, having a clear, transition in place really kind of benefits everybody. It benefits the employees, the residents, and the incoming administrator. So I also want to be very clear, though, that this isn't about a lack of confidence in Hayden. It's actually just the opposite of that. I think that Hayden's a man of his word. I think that he submitted his resignation serving through August 5th, and I fully expect him to do that. So with that, I just want to kind of throw that back to you, Thomas, and then also get your thoughts on this as well, Mayor.
Thank you, and I'm happy to answer your question, Mr. Gronzik. And then I also want to point out, I think there is one citizen who has signed up to comment on this item. And so after I provide my answer, I think it'd be best to allow citizen communication on this item before the council begins deliberating on it. Your local code establishes that the city administrator position is a public office. Whenever a public official resigns, that resignation becomes effective 8 days after its submission, whether it's accepted or not. So that time period has already run. The resignation is already effective. There is no action necessary by city council. When you talk about acknowledging the city administrator and the role that he's provided, when I read this item on the agenda, I took that to mean we're going to say, thanks, Hayden, and you did a great job, right? Then to provide direction regarding the leadership transition sounds as though this is going to be a discussion about whether we're going to have an interim, whether there's going to be a transition of who's going to be in charge of things until we have an interim or our next city administrator.
I think
All of those things are appropriate now,
Yeah.
whether or not you wait until his last day.
That's perfect. I appreciate that feedback on that. And just for clarification on my point, another item that was concerning to me was if we're going to bring in an interim city administrator, can you still have the city administrator there with, like, is that possible to do? My goal would be absolutely to do that so that we can create a solid transition and transfer as much institutional knowledge to the next person coming along. So that was kind of where this was geared as well, just for some clarification.
I agree. And to answer the question, it is legal for them both to be employees at the same time.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Then I have Keisha Rollins Contreras for item 8.1.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Keisha Rollins Contreras, and I live here in the city of Uhland. And I just want to say to City Administrator, thank you so much. You've been here a very short time and have made a huge impact in the city in a positive way. And I'm so grateful for everything that you've done for Uhland. I especially appreciate the streaming so that the public is able to view these meetings. And I know many people are working out of Uhland in Austin. And so I appreciate you making this accessible to everyone. And I just appreciate your integrity. I've worked with you and you've always been very professional and you've always shown me that you have integrity. So thank you. And I wish you the best in your new endeavors.
Are you keeping track of the time or am I going to? No, when public comments, they get 3 minutes. Are you keeping track of the time? 'Cause
That's all there was for that item.
that's the only one?
Yep.
Okay. Any other comments, discussion, questions, concerns from council? Do we get a motion or anything? Okay, discussion on,
I don't think there was action from this.
okay. Then we're going to agenda item 8.2. Discussion and possible action regarding a proposal from Strategic Government Resources, SGR or similar, to identify and provide an experienced interim city administrator, including approval of the proposal, compensation, and other terms of engagement, and authorization for Mayor Garza to coordinate the selection and onboarding process. Councilmember Mark Ronzik.
Yeah, so on this one, when I became concerned on the timeline for this and the lack thereof, rather, I did reach out to SGR to identify some qualified interim city administrator candidates so that the council would have some experienced options to consider. I appreciate what Hayden did as well. It looks like we've got another alternative option as well from Clear Career. Y'all are forcing me to have to think about it now. Yeah, stop. Clear Career. So we do have a few really good options that are sitting in front of us today, some good opportunities. My question is simply this. It's to you, Mayor. What are our next steps?
For the SGR? Did everybody read the email from Mr. Brodowski about the candidates? Did you get to see it, Alec? Ms. Saldivar? Did you get to read it?
Yeah, I read all of it.
Do we have to make a selection from that list or we need to discuss it?
I can give some more
Feedback?
some
Okay.
commentary. So if you recall at the last meeting, the direction was to go with option number 1 with Clear Career Professionals, which was to redo the entire job posting. That was also part of your email yesterday, was that brochure. So that's live. So that's out there right now to receive applications. Then the other part of your guys' direction was to ask about their headhunting ability for us. And so I did that as well. And they said that, it's $12,000 to place somebody here plus their mileage and then their hotel costs. And then on the same item is to discuss SGR and their options, 2 completely different fee schedule. If y'all went through the proposal and saw how it's billed out, it's billed hourly as opposed to a flat fee. That could be good or bad for your guys' budget concerns. If they work a full-time schedule at their billable rate, that could get expensive. If they goal this every couple of days to come in and do work, it can be cheaper. So before you is kind of 2 separate methodologies to place an interim service. The benefits for both exist. So it's kind of your guys' decision which way you want to go. One is coming from Clear Career itself. So their proposed candidate is already an employee for Clear Career. And so they would be essentially another set of eyes and ears to report to the candidates for the full-time position. So you have parity there. But also SGR is a completely different agency who's not going to have anything to do with your guys' proposal with Clear Career. So that also could be beneficial for you guys. I think cost needs to be considered. But other than that, you have 3 qualified people to be interims for you guys.
Do you want to say something?
I do have another
Go ahead.
question. I just want to make sure you're done. Um, Are we clear on whether or not Clear Career is going to charge us a fee for this interim? And are they still willing to guarantee the original contract for zero? Or is this in lieu of the contract?
Nope. So per Kelly's email, I don't know if I forwarded that to you guys or not, or if I just summarized it, but the interim service is a completely separate deal from the rerunning of the candidate profile. So regardless if you decide to choose their interim, they're still doing the service to provide finding a full-time city administrator. There's no cost to acquire the city administrator. You're just paying monthly for the service. So there's no headhunter fee to acquire. You just pay $12,000 a month plus mileage and then plus hotel costs. Whereas the SGR one is more of a typical interim service where you pay hourly for different levels of service, and it's based on how many hours they contribute to the organization. But to acquire this individual, and is Brian, there's no like upfront fee to have him come here. You're just paying the monthly cost of having him be an employee.
And the same thing for SGR,
Correct.
right?
Yeah. It's just
So-
their fee schedules are different because
Right.
Clear
Once-
Careers is flat rate, the other one's hourly.
I'm estimating, when I look at those, I'm estimating that I'm just being conservative. Hopefully it's not 6 months. But if you kind of do the math and the mileage on everything, going with Clear Career is about $26,000 less in the long run. It's definitely cheaper, more cost effective to go with a Clear Career path. So if they're not going to use that in lieu of their other search, and we can do that in tandem, I mean, that's, in terms of what it's going to cost the city, for me, it's a no-brainer. That's definitely the direction that we want to go in.
I also ran some very rough numbers. They worked a full-time schedule with the SGR contract. It's likely between minimally 12, but could be up to like 20 plus, depending if they work a full-time schedule. So there's more variability there. Now, again, if you don't want someone full-time here, you just want them to be here a couple of days out of the week, you likely would save money with the SGR contract. But again, if you want someone here full-time to do the job, then a flat rate contract is a little more sustainable because there's less variability other than their hotel costs, which that's not a known number, and that could also be expensive. So there's a lot of unknowns on both sides of this.
Yeah, I looked at that too. The hotel costs are, you're probably looking at roughly $2,000, $2,000 a week. Thank you.
And then the brochure, if I saw, it closes August 22nd, I believe. So your hope is that this is only a 4 to 5 week interim position that then turns into somebody being the full-time by September. So your hope is that it's not multiple months and it's has resolution by the end of August. The worst case scenario would be that if no one applies, you don't get applicants, the guarantees for one recruitment, and then you're kind of doing an interim for a little while longer. But that's worst case scenario. I think likely you get applications in by August 22nd. You'll find a full-time person, I imagine, by middle of September, I feel like.
So that's already rolling, right? With
Yep, that's
Clear.
been posted yesterday.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the best option right now for using Clear Career as well. Flat rate fee.
Thomas, what would be your opinion and what has been your experience as it relates to other cities bringing in interim city administrators in situations similar to ours? What has their process looked like?
There's another company in town in the state called First Texas or Texas First that does a similar program to this that I've worked with in other communities. I always recommend that a city who's going through a difficult transition bring in a professional as quickly as possible. It provides some stability within City Hall that can prevent instability and uncertainty will lead to your employees leaving. And so bringing in an interim leader can stabilize the situation. And I'm not saying that's going to prevent employees from leaving, but it certainly minimizes the risk of that happening. And so I always recommend bringing in an interim when that is something that's available.
And what does that process look like with some of the other cities that you've worked with? Is this like something that they see from paper and they say, let's run with it? Is it an interviewing process?
The company that I've worked with before simply provides you a name of somebody and you say yes, frequently, sometimes without even seeing a resume. There was a city secretary placement and a city manager placement that were both done that way. It's typically very flexible arrangement. If that person doesn't work out for whatever reason, they're not a cultural fit in your community, or they don't have the competency to continue, then you typically work that out with the company and send them back and they send you somebody new. The companies are usually pretty flexible about that.
Thank you.
Any other questions, concerns from council?
We do have public comment on this one as
Oh,
well.
excuse me.
I just wanted to say, so
Oh, okay.
Clear Career is already running the brochure currently. We're waiting for applications. Will we be updated like every week? Like, hey, we got 2 applications, we got 1 application or something like that?
Typically not. So when you do that, like an executive level recruitment, typically they don't tell you anything about the applications until they have a hard, solid number.
Okay.
Because a lot of times councils sometimes want to act too soon. And sometimes on the 22nd, the last day, your best applicant comes in, right? So they'll likely bring a pool of qualified people. If it's similar to how the last recruitment was run, because I went through it, there was a screening application or screening interview that was done that then was shared with council about the applicants. So I imagine that likely happens again. They'll probably choose who the top candidates are based on their experience from recruitment and then share those with you guys. And then from that pool, you then select y'all's top picks. So you will be deciding who are the finalists in this process.
All right. Yeah, that's it. That's the only question I have.
I
for
wanted to
that.
share some information, just as a recap. When Councilmember Gronsik found a Clear Career, we didn't know that they could provide an interim city administrator at the time. That's where SGR came in as another option for council to have someone here right away. But now that we found out that they can provide an interim city administrator, then the process to hire a permanent one won't be that pressure that we've had before to rush into getting someone permanent here. So the interim is covering the gap. And so that I think Clear Career is the right person to give us that interim and then get the permanent one.
And I believe he can start on August 2nd, so Monday. So
Yeah.
still not many days, but less. It's more than 0 days. So
Yep.
it'd likely be all Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I'll come here all day Wednesday, and then for council as well. So we'll have 3 full days for me to be able to talk about everything. So
Awesome.
My question, Mayor, is going to be, and probably broadly across the entire council board here, what is your vision? What are the expectations in terms of the amount of time that we want the city administrator to be present? What does the work week look like for the city administrator? What are your thoughts on that?
For the interim,
Yes, ma'am.
for the interim, I know that Mr. Brodowski will be available with us until August the 5th. And we have myself, the city secretary, and Jackie that can provide information for the interim city administrator so that we can have a seamless, smooth transition as much as possible. Are we going to be perfect? No one's perfect. Are we going to have some gaps? Perhaps. Can we get some grace so that we can help the city to do better and get better? I would expect that from everyone to be able to help us help you. And getting this interim city administrator here, even if it's 3 days, it's better than nothing. And that person has experience, so that's a plus.
And again, though, how many days a week do we want this interim to be here once Hayden is gone? Is kind of my question.
Oh, excuse me, I didn't hear that. Well, the office right now is open Monday through Thursday, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. So in the beginning, we should have them on board until that person gets the layout of the land, and then council can decide if, depending on the budget, if that's something we're concerned about, is figure out what do we need to target with the city administrator, and get some feedback from the interim city administrator, and decide if we want to do 4 days or less days, depending on the need.
One point is you're paying the flat rate regardless how many days he's here. So unlike the SGR one, it's hourly. You're paying the $12,000 per month regardless how many days he comes in. So my advice is squeeze out as much time as humanly possible to really help, because the job here, obviously there's a lot of things happening all at once. And so I have a lot of passwords to share for a lot of things. So more days is more better. So just
Okay.
keep that in your mind, that if you were to limit the amount of days they're here, you're still paying the same rate regardless. So I would definitely try to capitalize on his involvement.
Did you say that the hotel needs to be paid, and did you say mileage or no mileage?
Mileage.
Yes, so it's travel mileage. So I'm not sure where he's coming from.
Coming from Justin,
So I imagine there's probably a cost to get from Justin to here.
it's about
You pay that.
3.5, 4 hours.
Yep. And then they'll likely, if you require it to be the 4-day work week, they have a hotel for 4 days, then the mileage back home.
And do we get to pick the hotel and pay in advance, or they do, or how does that work?
I honestly, I'm not certain. I think that could be part of the conversation of setting a limitation on the cost. That might be a question for Clear Career, because sometimes interim services have a minimum star value for hotels. You can't put like a Motel 6 down the street because it's cheaper, right? So sometimes they have limitations on where you can put them. That could be a clarifier we ask, but I think it has to be reasonable. I think he's not
But
gonna say
they don't
We-
have to be the expensive villas in San Marcos.
no. I think you could definitely.
We could do like a
argue-
Hampton.
Yeah, I think there's a reasonable measurement here. I don't know what that is. I didn't ask that question.
They have
unfortunately.
also a Fairfield in Kyle, right?
Yeah, there's a
So
lot of very.
There's not just
affordable
Motel
costs.
6. They
Yes.
got more hotels, I think.
It's just, I've heard a council in my past say put them in the Motel 6 for an
No.
interim person.
I wasn't thinking that
So,
either.
but just know that there is probably a reasonable expectation you're going to house them somewhere that has at least some accommodation. But again, that's probably a few $100s per night. To your point, probably $2,000 a week. And the goal is lock in someone permanent, and then this is only a temporary 4 to 6 week ordeal, hopefully.
Okay, good.
There is action from this item though, so you do need to take action, decide to pick somebody.
Do we have
But
a
we do
public?
have public comment.
Okay.
Sorry, Keisha, I forgot you. So public comment.
So there is something that was mentioned that Mark found clear career professionals. I don't think that that's accurate. I actually mentioned clear career professionals to Vicky Rudy when we were looking for a city administrator, and that's how we found our wonderful city administrators here, through clear career professionals. So I do have experience with working with them. So if anyone has questions about the process, I'm happy to give you the information. And I know Mayor was here during that time, so you know that what that process was like. I definitely would support the city using clear career professionals because they do have that flat rate. And with the hourly rate, like the city administrator said, it can become very expensive for the city. And in other cities that I've seen, when the city administrator leaves or is terminated, they will have either the police chief or someone else who has experience in the city to step into that interim role until they find a permanent city administrator. We don't have an assistant city administrator here. That would be the next person in line to step in that role. So I think using this option is a really good option. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gush, I misspoke on Clear Career, and I want to make sure for the record I make a correction. I misspoke when I said Councilmember Goronzik found them. I meant he found the clause where it said that they could do the recruiting again for a new city administrator for free. And we didn't know that at the time. So that's what I actually meant to say.
Thank you, Mayor.
Any other questions, discussion, comments before we vote?
Well, we need to make a motion first.
Oh, excuse me. Getting ahead of
Um,
myself. I need a motion.
All right. I'm going to make a motion here to take action on accepting the proposal from Clear Career. And engaging that. I don't know are we giving this direction to you, Hayden, to do this?
Yes, myself or the mayor, while I'm sitting here, I'm fully able to execute this.
All right.
agreement with them, so.
So I'm going to make a motion to go ahead and give direction to both the mayor and Hayden to move forward with Clear Career option. And hopefully having that interim city administrator here as soon as possible.
Do I have a second?
Yeah, I'll second that as well.
We have a second from Councilmember Pineda. Councilmember Pineda, how do you vote?
Aye.
Councilmember Goranzik.
Aye.
Councilmember Saldivar.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now we're doing agenda item 8.3, discussion regarding the city administrator transition plan, transference of institutional and operational knowledge, status of outstanding matters, and identification of the city's highest operational risk during the transition. Councilmember Goranzik.
Thank you, Mayor. This agenda item really has to do mainly with what the city is inheriting with Hayden's departure. Throughout the process, Mayor, you've kind of repeatedly told the council that there's a lot of things happening behind the scenes that we don't know about. You've indicated at times that there's some plans in place and conversations occurring that haven't been shared with the governing body. So today I would just like to ask directly, what is your transition plan? As the mayor, how do you intend to ensure the transition is successful? What is the city's biggest operational risks over the next few weeks? What projects are at risk of falling behind? What deadlines, grants, contracts, litigation, personal matters, regulatory issues should the council know about today? And what institutional knowledge are you making sure is transferred to the interim administrator? And then lastly, what is your communication plan with the staff during this transition? And basically, what is the exit strategy for Mr. Brodowski?
I'm getting my notes.
Okay.
I didn't expect this question. I got my notes here. Hold on. For those that may not know, and some of you know, I know I've told council through email, BCC, I've been coming in every day, Monday through Thursday, to help with the utility clerk position. I recently learned that the city has under 600, well, over 500 delinquent accounts to the tune of $82,000 that commercial and residential owe the city. So one of my focus after Mr. Brodowski's departure is for me to have a plan to get that money collected as soon as possible. And then also the GLO account is something that is of concern. We are having another meeting August the 4th, and we will provide council with an update August the 5th. So we'll have an agenda for that. I believe, and I haven't checked with you yet with Mr. Brodowski giving this temporary assistant city secretary some of the work that he's been doing with Civic Plus, Univista, Bureau Veritas. I'm just kind of talking about these things. I didn't check with him before this meeting. I know there's some credit cards that need to be managed. We do have a new city engineer, Cobb Fendley. Mr. Brodowski's had a meeting with them already. You have? Okay. I'm having a meeting with the fire marshal on emergency preparedness plan for both Hayes and Caldwell County. The bank, are we still changing banks, but not right now?
Not at the moment. We are transitioning from the semi-commercial bank account to a full commercial bank account, and it's in the process right now. So the bank is converting to a interest yield account. Actually, it was halfway set up, and so now it's being finalized. I still think that we do the RFP for a new banking service in the near future, but given the transitions with FundView, to change all of our account and routing numbers while we're doing this process would be catastrophic. So since we're doing the change anyways, we're going to just see Broadway Bank through for a minute, and then they might come back and be a part of the RFQ. But yes, that is in the near future process, but not immediate given all the other changes. You don't want too many balls in the air at the same time, especially when it involves your account and routing numbers.
Thank you. And just for the record, we have Jackie, she works permits and development. Bureau Veritas does home inspections and plats. What else do I have? The secretary has already taken care of open records. Something
The
else.
city secretary.
Excuse me. Temporary assistant city secretary, Miss Anna Ortiz. She's taking care of open records and the meeting minutes. She's working on that also. We'll have them ready for the August 5th meeting. Let's see what else. I'm working with doing the work for the utility clerk. We do have an RFQ out for that. Is there a deadline for the applications?
No, it was open-ended. So we've received, I believe, 3 or 4 new applications, and I'll probably include some of the old pool as well. But the goal is to start interviewing those people as soon as possible. The issue runs into onboarding this person likely extends after my departure. But again, you want to find the right person for the role, a good fit for our team. And so it's out there on TML, on our city website, and anybody from the community is seen on Facebook as well. So it's out there, and that will likely start interviewing either end of this week or Monday, Tuesday, hopefully. And if not, that's a great thing for the interim city manager to pick. So
Okay, and then we also have SAC Finance. He's doing a great job with the financials and the budget, so we're on target and on time for that.
actually ahead of schedule, not toot our own horn, but we are well ahead of schedule with most cities
That-
at this point. So
thank
good
you.
job, guys.
Thank you. So we are on schedule on that. That's what I have so far right now. I will be continuing to come in. I'm volunteering my time to do that to help the city. I'm not here permanent, so no one has to worry about, me hanging out here. I do want to help the city, and that's what I'm doing here for right now till we get the interim city administrator on board and he or she's okay. Then, and then we get the utility clerk trained. I know Jackie knows the job well. I've learned it about 80% because there's still some things that need to be taken care of. I know the Miss Anna Ortiz is also learning the system as well. So we have backup and we have cross training as well. I think that's all I have. I will continue to update council, BCC emails so that you have some form of communication so that we have a smooth transition and continue this. And if there's any questions, any council member can find me here Monday through Thursday, call me or email me. And I don't know if I left anything out or if you
Yeah,
have any questions.
I am still wondering if you have a communication plan with the staff. I know you talked about Jackie. I know that we still have police and still have public works. I don't know where we're at with all of those folks, and then also what the exit strategy is going to be for Mr. Brodowski.
I do know that I've spoken with Mr. Brodowski about staff, and he's going to be sending an email. I've already sent one myself and told him to include me on any of their correspondence. That's the police department and both public works as well. And he's going to also send an email out and letting them know that if there's a gap, then to make sure they keep me informed.
One of the things to note too is with the selection of an interim city administrator starting on hopefully Monday, there shouldn't be an administrative gap where council has to act as the administrative arm of the body. So by not having any gap between me being gone and then nobody here, there is no need for the mayor to act as the administrator, because that is the state law default for our type of government. So by having the interim person start on Monday, you quasi have two people to lead the groups. My job will be to make sure that I've offloaded everything I can humanly possible to everyone that is touching things. I do want to note Anna's been here for a couple days, already making a huge impact for us in terms of just the day-to-day operations that are just too much for one person to handle. So I really appreciate that piece. And then just having people here is helpful. So I think the concerns that we have about having the overlap between no one here and the mayor having to step in and be an administrator is not a concern when you have an interim administrator, because that person is the full-fledged administrator, just not permanent. So that person will then be directing staff once I'm gone. And so the goal is over the next 3 days, once they're here, I'm going to literally tell them all the things about City Hall, all the impending doom that might be coming our way, and all the ways that I've thought about fixing it. And it's up to them to find their own flavor or follow the path that we've set up for this city. So I will take any questions you guys have of me as well. If you want to know how I'm planning on transitioning things around, I've given a lot of things to Anna already to be able to help with the website, with our social media profiles, our YouTube service, how to run the meetings in my departure. The biggest thing that you run into in city transitions is passwords, ironically, because sometimes there's such email boxes you can't get to. So as part of what I've been doing, but even before I knew I was leaving, was creating centralized boxes that are shareable. That way, if anybody leaves in the city, the recoverability is in a shared box. So if you ever use the password, it goes to a shared profile that can be reset easier. A lot of nuance though, because my cell phone number was the recovery for the YouTube profile today. That's a fun thing we have to navigate in the next 2 days. But I do know that having the right people is going to make this a lot easier. And so I'm excited to be able to kind of just impart whatever I can on these folks. Again, we all want the same thing, which is what's best for Uhland. So my goal will be to pour out as much as I can to make sure this is as seamless as possible. It won't be perfect, and there will be mistakes, and things will likely be rocky unintentionally. That is just what happens when people leave. So, but rest assured, though, I am taking notes. I have things written down. I've been showing a software called Scribe, where you can show step-by-step how to do SOPs. So I'm making some of those. That way, no matter who's in the office, services will continue. So any questions you guys have, I'm happy to take questions. I know it's for the mayor, but I'm happy to answer things as well.
Hayden, I would like to request, if you would be willing to do this, putting together a comprehensive transition notebook before you depart. I'd like to see the notebook remain with the city and serve as an operational guide for the interim city administrator. And some of the things that I'd really like to have in there, obviously, are the passwords that you talked about, the status of each active project, the GLO grant process, easement status, the responsible parties, and the upcoming deadlines. Fund view utility billing implementation status, and if there's any kind of outstanding issues that we need to be aware of. Any kind of pending contracts, agreements, or procurement items. Any of the personnel vacancies and ongoing recruitment efforts. key vendor, consultant, contractor, and agency contacts. Any upcoming council actions and statutory deadlines. Any outstanding legal matters requiring administrative attention. We kind of covered system access, operational procedures, other essential administrative information that's handled appropriately and securely. And lastly, a summary of the city's highest operational risks and your recommended next steps. One thing I don't want to happen is for Hayden's institutional knowledge to walk out that door. I want that knowledge documented so that it remains with the city and not with just one individual. I also think Mayor, you should probably meet with all of the department heads before August the 5th and discuss any kind of operational priorities.
Okay.
But yeah, in terms of stuff for you, that would be amazing if you could help us, because that will really be a huge win for the city.
Anything else?
Nope, that's it.
Any other questions, concerns, comments?
I think everything was covered and it's understandable, very understandable. But I really appreciate that too, just to have in the near future. So.
I wanted to say, you had mentioned passwords, which is something that I didn't really expect to be a big deal in the transition. I expected, I guess when people resign or leave, that there should be already given. So I appreciate you putting it on the shared password, because I know during the last big transition, one of the biggest things was something like accessing passwords. So it wasn't a matter of, do we have the people here? We had the people here. They weren't given access, which now that it's available on the shared access, it's going to make it easier, depending on whatever happens in the future. You know, people leave for all kinds of reasons, and I think this is a good security measure so that we're not put in the same predicament we were put in previously again.
I mean, a great example is the sales tax the city pays. We have one sales tax account, and that was set up probably 12 or 13 years ago, right? And so you have to retain that login information for anybody who needs to access our sales tax portal.
Mm-hmm.
And if someone doesn't have that, you get a call from the state saying, where's your sales tax? And saying you don't have the password is not good enough. So definitely, having lived through that over the last few months, I'm intentionally looking at ways to make sure that all these potential speed bumps and roadblocks aren't to be a hazard for us, because a lot of these things, the state doesn't care about transition. They have statutory requirements, and regardless of who's here, who's not here, they're going to hold you to it. So having those things kind of already considered, I've been trying to make it as open as possible for the folks, but you also can't do it too much, because you want to make it to where not anyone can just access things, because you want to have at least some requirements of knowing who touched something, because one of the problems going to is the shared access. You don't know who touched what, right? Mm-hmm. So luckily, with the person starting on Monday, I can create their own logins and passwords to make sure that it is still, there's accountability. So it'd be good.
And then the last thing, I know the passwords, there was a couple of hiccups, right, with the transition. Were all those, I guess, are all the fixes being implemented, or is there any outstanding, I guess, transitional issues that we're still, even though you're leaving, that you still haven't, I guess, gotten corrected or got a plan to correct, that you noticed when you came on?
I need specifics.
Any outstanding passwords or people that don't have access to anything?
No, so a lot of people don't know how hard it is to get in city accounts. A lot of these things are ordained by resolution. And so if you're referring to like bank accounts, for example, someone can get into the bank, but what they can and can't touch in that bank is limited to what the resolution says you can do. So obviously, you're going to have to update those things by resolution. So who signs checks is ordained by you guys, and it only can change by you guys. So that is one thing to consider probably for the August 5th meeting. That'll be agendized tomorrow, but it might behoove us, if I get confirmation tonight that we're good to go with our candidate, that we put on the agenda to sign over checks to the interim or not, or you wait until the full-fledged person's here. That's what happened my first month here was I wasn't authorized to sign checks until the third month I was here. You want to avoid that because your vendors aren't going to care about transitions either. And so we can discuss that a little bit more, I think, between myself and likely the candidate and see how that goes for the August 5th meeting. But there are those type of things you don't want to have lapse because you have to be able to sign checks. So
Thank you.
Any other questions?
public comment on this item, it looks like.
You have a public comment?
This is 8.3.
Ready? My name is Matthew Steffen. I live on 113 Misty Drive, Uhland, Texas, 78640. I appreciate everything, Hayden. You've done a wonderful job from what I can tell and what I've seen and what I've inquired just within the time that you've been here. I appreciate all the stuff that's been brought to the attention in specifics as to what it was. The one thing that does bother me and kind of worries me a little bit is a notebook for anyone to read. Make sure that it goes in just as a outside looking in. I would like that it's only to certain extent, because we don't want a playbook that is supposed to be us. That's why we don't hire others from outside, from another city, to actually come here and do that. We hire the professionals that are non-biased. So whenever they get that information, they leave with nothing other than what they've got, and they don't take that to another city other than maybe a little thought within their head to be able to give them direction or help someone else's direction, but they don't use specifics as to what it is. So, and with the stuff being in a book, it's not an open book for everybody to see. As you're resigning, maybe there's a point that we need an open eye. So as you do all the stuff that he's mentioned, great. I don't know how it needs to be put down, where it needs to be put down. Who needs to have access to it? That is the big key. I don't know who actually gets access between your position, between the council or anything like that, through the lawyer or what they have, secretary. The information that's needed is make sure that it's pertinent for what we have so it can be a successful city, along with protecting what we have as a city, whether or not we follow your plan or not. That's the information, because maybe it's more pertinent for us to go in there with not our blinders on, but as an actual insight, so we can not be blinded by something that may be holding the payoffs or any kind of that's hidden or non-transparent, what have you, anything like that. Obviously, he's being as transparent as he has. It's just, I appreciate you bringing up some of the specifics that there was to actually offer for the recommendations within this notebook or what have you, quote unquote notebook. But it seems that you're being extremely transparent and going to do the right thing. Obviously, thank you very much for all of y'all. And thank you once again, Hayden.
Thank you. So this was just a discussion, okay? We'll go to agenda item 8.4, discussion and possible action regarding prioritization of critical city operations during the administrative transition, including identification of essential functions and possible deferral of discretionary meetings, projects, or administrative activities while staffing is stabilized. Council Member Grunzik.
Thank you, Mayor. So the last agenda item was really on what is the city inheriting with the departure of Hayden. This one then kind of takes it one step further. It's what is the plan with the stuff that we're inquiring. So as he prepares to leave, we kind of need to build on this and plan and have a plan for addressing those priorities and make sure that the city remains focused during this transition, which hopefully will be as seamless as possible. But Mayor, I will leave that with you. I would like to ask what is the plan for the next 5 days that we have left with Hayden
I
and
have
for
not,
the city?
and for the city,
Yeah.
right. I
What's
have
the
not
plan?
had a chance to sit down with Mr. Brodowski to discuss this one. But according to the previous agenda item, he's going to have a notebook ready with passcodes and any other pertinent information that we will need so that we have everything covered that you had asked about, because I saw him taking notes. And we're going to be here at work, and whatever else we need to discuss, we will do that tomorrow. I didn't do it before this meeting. Do you have anything to add?
Yeah, in reading the item, if we're identifying essential functions and deferrals, one thing I would advise is wait to want to defer things until you have an idea of how unstable things are going to become. I can tell you there's a lot of things in motion in terms of subdivision building out. So when I read this, I took this as moratoriums and stopping of things. Your development will become the lifeblood that funds the city through the next fiscal year. So you need these projects to continue down their path that they're on. Luckily, the city has been propped up to where a lot of our oversight on development is done by our third parties. So to the mayor said earlier, Bureau Veritas does our inspections, Cobb Finley does our engineer reviews, and then Bureau Veritas does our planning reviews. Those three people are outside of the changes that are happening administratively, and that will continue to happen regardless who sits in my seat. Obviously, if they choose other professionals, you can do that, but the operations happening outside of these walls will continue to happen and need to happen, because if you choose to do anything that stops the future growth, you're impeding future tax base for us. So the administrative burden is not light for those meetings, but they are a priority in the sense that you will be affecting future growth and revenues for us. And so I would definitely, if things become out of control and unsustainable in like 3 or 4 weeks, that's when you can have those conversations. But a lot of our subdivisions are kind of in this ramp up mode that I spoke of at the last meeting. And so stopping things would be a huge long-term impact for the city. You're better doing it fumbling and struggling and still doing it than stopping it altogether. There are some probably nuanced things that cannot happen as much, but in terms of the development process, a lot of that is being ran outside of these walls. So you have Jackie handling the internal component of it, but in reality, the professional review, construction meetings, all those things are being done by third-party folks. So I would definitely advise against not getting in that way of those projects. And then if it does become an administrative strain for the city, then consider what does a moratorium look like. But that feels preemptive right now, given the fact that it might not actually have a huge wave when the new person comes in.
Aside from developments, is there any other, I guess, services or processes that absolutely need to continue?
Yeah, so obviously trash is the only service we provide that is a enterprise for the city. That needs to happen because regardless of our involvement, trash will get picked up at every house, whenever it does. And so that has to continue as well. Obviously, policing is a service that we provide to the city that needs to continue to exist. Positive and negatively, we don't provide a whole lot of enterprise services to the community. And so a lot of these things do function organically. So the only thing that we have a hand in to make sure they continue is policing, street maintenance, and trash services, right? Those are the three things that we really provide as a cost of service to our residents. Those things have to happen no matter who's sitting in my chair, because the city needs streets to be looked at. We need trash to be picked up, and we need the police out there doing their jobs.
Yes, sir.
Hayden, I wouldn't disagree with what you were just talking about in terms of projects that need to move forward, but like we are severely understaffed, and we're about to have an interim city administrator come in here temporarily. We have a temporary assistant city secretary. We don't have a utility clerk hired. We've got Jackie toggling in between. So while I don't disagree with what you're saying, I guess my question would be then, can you help us identify which projects, meeting initiatives, or administrative activities that can be deferred until staffing is stabilized?
Sure. There's not a lot of them because I would say that our organization, since it is so lean, doesn't take fluff meetings per se. So I wouldn't say our calendars are full of just nonsensical meeting time. Things that you don't want to lapse because we don't have staff is our intergovernmental relationships with the school district, the county, those type of meetings, because what you don't want to do is further isolate ourselves from our neighbors who can help us, because those are the ones you'll lean on when you are short staffed. So in terms of meetings that don't have to happen, I can't think off the top of my head of one that is not currently critical. And in terms of projects, every project they're working on as a staff is critical. The GLO project is one that you can't unfortunately put the brakes on because that's a state mandated project that we have to finish. And then, like I said, all of our subdivisions and development is kind of being ran outside of the office. So I don't know that there's anything you can really, other than stopping the things that are already existing without our involvement. I can't think of one. I'll think about it tomorrow extensively, but the city because again, remember, we've been short-staffed for the last 4 months. So this is not, we're just getting more short-staffed. So the city already takes the minimum amount of fluff meetings as possible because we don't have time.
May I make one more suggestion for you, Mayor?
Yes.
Earlier, I had suggested or made the suggestion to meet with all the department heads.
Right.
It probably wouldn't be a bad idea, and you can tell me, Hayden, if you disagree or not, but to have them identify their top 3 priorities in upcoming deadlines, any kind of unresolved issues they have or operational risks, any decisions or resources that they're going to need from the interim city administrator. And maybe we can add those to the notebook as well. Once maybe they can report back to us and we can add that into so that whoever comes in.
Yeah, on an upcoming agenda, there is an update from staff members that's being added. It's important to note we don't have department heads in our city. We have the police chief, we have a public works supervisor, so it is very flat in terms of department heads. There's no HR director, there's no finance director, and so it is extremely flat in terms of reporting structure. And so,
I guess public works and police.
Yeah, it just be the 2 of them.
Yeah.
Yep. And so we can easily get kind of their top things they're working on as a group. I can tell you, like, the police building is their number 1 concern. It's hot over there, so they're having AC problems. I'm sure there's a lot of crime being dealt with, but them being comfortable in that building is probably a top priority for them right now. So navigating those kind of things, because again, employee satisfaction is critical when everything else is also on fire. So.
Any other questions, concerns from council?
I mean, I'll just sum this one up. From my view, the next 5 days should really encompass getting the new the interim city administrator here, first priority, which it looks like they're going to be here on Monday, so we can check that off. Capturing Hayden's institutional knowledge before he leaves, we can check that off. He's going to put together that notebook for us, and then also the new interim will have some time, 3 or 4 days, to be with him and kind of shadow him and learn. Assign clear authority effective August the 6th, which I assume would be the new interim city administrator. protect all the critical operations, GLO, utilities, police, finance, which finance is pretty much under control with Zach, so we can check that piece off. And just stabilize staffing and fill the most critical vacancies. These would be, in my view, the most critical priorities to kind of get us back on our feet again.
Okay. Do we need a vote on this one? Okay.
Oh, you know what? I apologize. It wasn't 2,000 a month on the hotels. I mean, it wasn't 2,000 a week. It was 2,000 a month, roughly,
That's a lot better.
for the record.
You have,
No, I was just gonna say, did you check out Airbnbs as well or no? Yeah. Okay.
Sorry, we digress.
okay, we're going to move on to agenda item 8.5. Discussion and possible action regarding interim personnel authority during the vacancy in the office of the city administrator, including designation of the city council as the appointing authority for the hiring, discipline, suspension, termination, and supervision of city employees, including the police department, until a permanent city administrator is appointed, and authorizing the mayor to carry out personnel actions only as specifically directed by the city council. This is Councilmember Piñeda.
We do have public comment on this one as well.
Okay, public comments.
Keisha. Public comment, A5.
You said what? Okay, one quick question before I start. Do I need to speak only specifically to this item, or can I just say anything?
This is for 8.5 only. This is for the agendized item.
Okay. I don't really have any, I just wanted a general comment, so not specific to that one.
At this time, council is only considering item 8.5. That's what you indicated you wanted to talk about.
Okay.
The time for general comments would have been during public comment at the beginning of the meeting. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
no, that's fine, that's fine. Thank you.
So I wrote up this agenda item because I wanted to understand and possibly get some advice from Thomas on what he thinks about this. But I mean, from everything that we talked about so far, sounds like the interim city manager or city administrator will be able to take care of all personnel. Is that correct? From like what we talked about up until this point?
Yeah, I don't want to take away whatever you wanted to bring up under this item, but I was going to point out that the city's code regarding the city administrator's position provides that the mayor's authority to hire and fire has already been delegated to the city administrator. And so long as that position is not vacant, it's the city administrator who will manage that. So this may have just been overcome by events by this point.
Yeah, at this point, because I was reading it and I was like, well, we already spoke about it because of the interim. He was going to be in already by the time Hayden leaves, then he would pretty much take over. Okay. I don't know if anybody else has any other questions in regards to that.
I think this was, were you maybe concerned about what happened in the event that we didn't have anybody here?
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
That's because I didn't know if there was going to be somebody here
That
or
makes
not.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, concerns from council? No? Okay, so there's no action on this one either. And any city administrators report or announcements?
Nothing for me. Obviously, Anna is here helping out. Tackled a lot of minutes that will be in your guys' inbox for this weekend's reading for you guys. There's a lot of them. So,
Yeah.
So get ready to read minutes.
We've had a lot of meetings.
One a week for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
Is August 5th going to be long?
Yes.
Bring your
Long.
lunch. Bring your
Yes.
lunch. Okay, if there's no other announcements, I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
We have a second. Um, How do you vote, Councilmember Piñeda?
Aye.
Councilmember Goranczyk?
Aye.
Councilmember Saldivar?
Aye.
Okay, this meeting is adjourned at 7:42 PM. Thank you for coming.